What if there was a plant that held the ultimate secret to survival? A seed designed not just to withstand fire, but to demand it, to only awaken and bloom when everything else has burned to ash. For millions of years, it has thrived in the face of catastrophe, feeding ancient civilizations, healing the land, and holding the blueprint for rebirth. Then, in less than 2 centuries, we misunderstood it, suppressed its vital partner, and nearly stifled its ancient wisdom. But beneath the scorched earth, something was always waiting. This is the story of the fiery heart of Australia and the plant that may hold the key to life in a burning world. Welcome to Veiled Earth. The archive opens in the scorched plains of southwestern Australia. Here, in the aftermath of a devastating bushfire, while other plants lay dormant or destroyed, an ancient magic is beginning to stir. This isn't just a plant, it's a living paradox. For at least 60 million years, these hardy shrubs and trees have dominated the Australian landscape, evolving alongside a continent defined by fire. Their woody seed pods, often called cones, are unlike anything else. They are sealed tight with a tough, woody resin, protecting the precious seeds inside, not just from hungry animals, but from everything except the most intense heat. They're locked vaults, holding life's blueprint, waiting for a cataclysm. When a wildfire rages through the bush, this plant can appear utterly destroyed, its leaves incinerated, its branches blackened. But deep within those charred cones, a transformation occurs. The intense heat of the flames causes the resin to melt, the woody follicles to crack open, and the winged seeds to flutter free onto the ash-enriched soil. This process, called serotiny, is a masterclass in evolutionary design. It's a precise calculation. Fire clears competition, fertilizes the soil with ash, and creates the perfect window for new life to begin. This, my friends, is the incredible story of Banksia. For ancient Aboriginal communities, Banksia was more than just a resilient plant. It was a cornerstone of survival. Its nectar-rich flowers provided a sweet drink, soaked directly or mixed with water. Its large, distinctive cones were used as fire starters and filters for drinking water. More importantly, Banksia's deep roots and ability to regrow from a lignotuber, a woody swelling at the base of the plant, meant it was one of the first plants to bring life back to a burned landscape, providing shelter and food for returning wildlife. It was a symbol of renewal, a living testament to the cyclical nature of life and death in the Australian bush. The knowledge of how to live with fire and how to utilize plants like Banksia was passed down through generations. So, if Banksia was so perfectly adapted, so vital to the ecosystem, and so crucial to ancient survival, how did this master of rebirth become threatened in the very landscape it defined? The story, as it often does, takes a darker turn with the arrival of European colonists in the late 18th century. They brought with them a worldview shaped by European forests and agriculture, where fire was seen as an enemy, a destructive force to be suppressed at all costs. This marked the beginning of what would become a devastating cultural and ecological clash. Aboriginal burning practices, a sophisticated system of land management that had maintained the delicate balance of the Australian bush for tens of thousands of years, were misunderstood and outlawed. These mosaic burns, carefully controlled and seasonal, had ensured that fires were generally low intensity and frequent enough to prevent massive, catastrophic blazes. They also created the perfect conditions for plants like Banksia, encouraging seed release without overwhelming the ecosystem. The new settlers, however, imposed blanket fire suppression policies. For nearly 2 centuries, fire was systematically fought and prevented. While this might have seemed logical to protect burgeoning settlements and agricultural land, it had an unforeseen and devastating impact on the native flora and fauna. Without regular, low-intensity fires, fuel loads in the bush accumulated to unprecedented levels. This created a ticking time bomb. For Banksia, this suppression was a slow death sentence. Its seeds remained locked in their woody cones, patiently waiting for the signal to open, a signal that never came. Generations of seeds went unreleased, lying dormant, eventually losing viability. The cycle of rebirth was broken. Banksia populations began to decline, particularly in areas near human habitation where fire suppression was most rigorous. What was once a vibrant, fire-adapted forest slowly transformed into an overgrown tinderbox, paradoxically making it more vulnerable to the very fires people sought to prevent. By the early 2000s, the consequences became terrifyingly clear. Megafires, unlike anything seen in recorded history, began to sweep across Australia, fueled by decades of accumulated dry vegetation. These were not the low-intensity burns Banksia had evolved with. These were infernos, reaching temperatures so extreme they sometimes incinerated the very seeds they were meant to release, or sterilized the soil beneath. The land was burning, but Banksia wasn't being reborn in the same way. The ecosystem was out of sync. But beneath the surface, a new understanding was unfolding. Scientists, ecologists, and even some land managers began to question the long-held dogma of fire suppression. They looked to the surviving Banksia and the wisdom of indigenous practices. By the 1990s and early 2000s, as climate change intensified droughts and increased fire risk, the urgency became undeniable. Ecologists studied the behavior of Banksia in detail. They observed that in areas where controlled burns mimicked ancient Aboriginal practices, Banksia flourished. Its seeds germinated, its seedlings thrived, and the ecosystem returned to health. Where fire was absent for too long, Banksia groves slowly aged and declined, without new generations to replace them. Research revealed that Banksia wasn't just surviving fire, it was actively contributing to the health of the post-fire landscape. Many Banksia species are nitrogen fixers, meaning they have a special relationship with bacteria in their roots that convert atmospheric nitrogen into a usable form in the soil. This is a critical function in nutrient-poor Australian soils, especially after a fire has volatilized much of the organic matter. Banksia was literally rebuilding the foundation of the ecosystem. It was the silent architect of recovery. The question grew louder. If a plant like Banksia could teach us how to live with fire and actively heal the land after devastation, what else had we forgotten? Today, the world is facing unprecedented challenges from climate change, with hotter, drier conditions leading to more frequent and intense wildfires across the globe, from California to the Mediterranean, from the Amazon to, inevitably, Australia. In this new, fiery reality, the ancient wisdom of Banksia is no longer a historical curiosity. It's a blueprint for survival. In 2019 and 2020, Australia endured its most devastating bushfire season on record, burning millions of hectares and pushing countless species to the brink. But in the ash, something extraordinary began. Climate scientists and fire ecologists are now actively studying Banksia, not just as a survivor, but as a teacher. Its unique mechanisms for fire-activated seed release, its ability to resprout from deep underground, and its role in nitrogen fixation are being meticulously researched. Governments and land management agencies are rethinking their approach to fire. They are increasingly adopting cultural burning practices, learning from Aboriginal elders to implement controlled, low-intensity fires that restore the natural balance and allow fire-adapted species like Banksia to flourish. Banksia seeds are now being actively collected and used in restoration projects in burned-out areas, often requiring controlled heat treatments to encourage germination. The flowers of Banksia are also gaining renewed attention for their role in supporting native pollinators, including bees and nectar-feeding birds and mammals, making them vital for ecosystem health. And in a world grappling with food security and sustainable practices, the historical use of Banksia nectar as a nutritious sweetener is also being explored. One botanist recently wrote, "Banksia is not just a plant, it's a living archive of how to thrive when the world is in flux." It reminds us that destruction is often just a prelude to rebirth, if we only listen to nature's ancient instructions. The story of Banksia is not merely about a plant that survives fire. It's about remembering what was lost, the profound understanding of nature's cycles, the wisdom of indigenous stewardship, and the knowledge that, sometimes, the answers to our greatest challenges are found in the most extreme conditions. The seed that only wakes in fire carries a message for all of us. That adaptation and resilience are not about avoiding the inevitable, but about learning to dance with it, to find life even in the ashes. This knowledge is not lost. It's waiting for us to remember how to ignite it. If this vault opened something for you, and you find value in these stories, hit subscribe and the bell icon. Every like and every share helps preserve this forgotten wisdom together. The next veil uncovers soon.